Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cinema Savvy. It is myself, George, joined once more by Charlie for a very interesting discussion. This is a spoiler discussion on Jurassic World Dominion, which is now out in cinemas worldwide. We have both seen the film, and we're going to get into some spoilers with it and hopefully go through it and get people commenting along with us. So, before we get into that stuff, Charlie, how are we doing today? I'm trying to think last time I had you on. We had you on for Star Wars. Of course, we did Star Wars, the ranking video.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That seems like ages ago. Yeah, all good. Riding the Jurassic World hype, unlike most people, but feeling good.
No, and that's the main thing, because you're on the hype for it, which is great. It's going to make this a lot easier for me. The review I did, I'd been under the weather for a few days, so I wasn't the best mindset for a review the other day, and I had to do one. I think I was like physically exhausted talking about the film about 3 minutes in, and it ended up being 11 minutes long. So that's how that one turned out. But if you have seen the film and you're on, it's not a versus, it's none of that Last July ridiculous stuff, but we want to hear from you, so please comment your thoughts on Jurassic World Dominion, your thoughts on the trilogy, your thoughts on the series. All opinions are welcome here, and obviously with it being spoiler discussion, you can comment whatever you want about these films. There's nothing you need to hide from. It's all fine. And if you're a fan of film and all that other stuff, hit the subscribe button. There's a lot more stuff on the way. If you're a fan of Jurassic Park, there's actually some more Jurassic Park videos coming up. We're doing the Steven Spielberg retrospective, and we'll have reviews out in July the 5th, I think, for Jurassic Park 1, and the 19th for Jurassic Park 2, because we're doing it in the actual directing release date order, which is really weird. So we found Jurassic Park, this is a place to be. And if you want to get us on social medias, you can find us now on Instagram, same username as our Twitter, at cinema_savvy, Facebook and letterboxd.com/cinemasavvy, and a link to Redbubble in the description below where you can pick up some nice new merch. And aside from all that stuff, I guess a really sensible way to sort of begin talking about this film is actually like your thoughts heading to, like, Charlie, coming to you, like, were you hyped for this? Were you looking forward to this? Where did you sort of stand before seeing it? Aside from like critics, what you'd seen online, just were you hyped for the film, all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I think Fallen Kingdom is probably, out of the 6 films, probably my least favourite. I think it's a little bit ploddy in parts, and maybe doesn't quite capture what the first Jurassic World did for me. But yeah, I'm always excited to see another Jurassic film, whatever the sort of like general consensus is about it. Like I love dinosaurs, I love big action films, I love all the like summer blockbuster films that come out around this time of year. So for me, this is just kind of kicking us off into the season. Jurassic World, the first one, is one of my favorites from the series. I actually saw it 5 times when it was first released, so it's like always been quite special and important to me. But yeah, I was buzzing for it, and also we've had such a long wait. Like, it was another one of these films that survived production throughout lockdown, so I just feel like it was a big payoff and it worked for me.
Yeah, I mean, the Jurassic World stuff, I mean, the first one, if I'm gonna sort of jump in with this, sort of following off them, I wasn't that hyped for this film, and I don't know why. And actually, I think I know partially why. Top Gun Maverick has just changed my life. Like, I'm honestly like, I had this like joke with my parents, like, if I was fit, I might have accidentally joined the RAF because I liked it so much. Glad that definitely hasn't happened, and it won't happen. But since I've seen that, and this is where obviously, like, without sort of hyping what's coming out soon, we've got Lightyear on Friday, Elvis the week after. I really hope that I like them both, because everything now is just going to get compared to Top Gun for me, and it's really horrid whilst magnificent at the same time. And unfortunately for Jurassic World Dominion's fault, on the day I saw Top Gun in 4DX just before, which was an experience. 4DX is a very weird thing. Don't know if I'd do it again. If they do a Star Wars re-release, I'll definitely go, because I like to see the pod race. But if you're going to try 4DX, do it for Top Gun, just to plug that. But there was just something about this film where, maybe the marketing campaign, is it because of COVID delaying it? I don't know, but the trailers just never really did anything for me, which is a shame, because I don't think anyone in the world dislikes dinosaurs. That's like a given, right? I don't think, as a kid, when you first discover what they were and you see the potential, you see not just Jurassic Park, but the actual dinosaur film from back in the day. I remember that when I was little. So many other things. The Walking with Dinosaurs, the Sir Kenneth Branagh series, which obviously I didn't know he narrated till I was old, which was really cool, and loads of other stuff. So the background dinosaurs, it's not hard to be excited for them. And when Jurassic World 1 came out in 2015, I think I saw it 4 times at the cinema. Like, I absolutely loved it. It actually might be one of the very first videos on this channel. I absolutely loved that film. and just the concept of it, that the theme park is open
Hmm.
and you had a dinosaur, and it was such a simple premise, and that's all it needed to be. The theme park is open, you can sell a film on that, and it worked so well. And I didn't mind Fallen Kingdom. I've only seen it once. I know a lot of people really dislike it, and it probably does have its issues, the cloning stuff we'll get to today. But I loved the whole the horror sort of house thing and selling off dinosaurs to the big bidders, because that sort of thing would happen without me getting political. Like, that would definitely happen. So yeah, there's a bit of background with them, and then again, I saw this a few days before the embargo went up, but I don't know what it was. I just didn't gel with it. And in that spoiler free, I was very harsh, and I've got some strong opinions, but just want to kind of like jump to you quickly. With this obviously being out, you saw it yesterday. Like, just your initial viewing, like, were you excited, or like what was the atmosphere like? Because the screening I was at was obviously full to the brim. There's a lot of people, excited, and then it felt, certain moments you got a couple of people in the crowd going, and then it'd be nothing up afterwards. I didn't stay around after. I just wanted to go because it was the Jubilee and it was rammed. But yeah, like, what was the screen like time? Because you were in Leicester Square, weren't you, at the super screen?
Well, no, the super screen got cancelled, so we were booked on for the 6:30 screening at the super screen, like we do for basically every new release that comes out on a Friday. We're like, well, we're booked for the 6:30 p.m. That's usually perfect timing after finishing work and getting home at a decent time and all of that, and it's always in the super screen. But so we had it booked for weeks, and then at end of last week, we got an email from Cineworld saying that your screening has been cancelled. No reason as to why. We still don't know why. And we were moved into one of the much smaller screens, like 5 rows. Leicester Square Cineworld, it's either a massive screen or you're basically sat in your living room. Like, there's no sort of in between screen size there, which was a shame, because I think for a film like this, you need to see it on the biggest screen possible. You need to have that Dolby sound effects. You need to have like that kind of full screen atmosphere. But because of the screening being cancelled, I guess loads of people just decided not to go. So the screen was actually quite quiet. It was a tiny screen, whatever. But to be honest, once the film actually got going, I didn't really notice, because I was so engrossed in it. It didn't feel like 2.5 hours for me. It seemed to really fly by. So it was a shame, but it didn't ruin the film for me at all. But yeah, I still don't know what was happening in the super screen at 6:30 last night. I'd love to know. I'd love to know why we weren't allowed in there.
Probably just Cineworld being Cineworld, or they'll be like, we'll actually show a random film that we'll show once and never again, knowing them. They'll be like, look,
Yeah.
no one. But yeah, I spend half my time tweeting Cineworld abuse these days, because
I think most
I see
people
people. I think people get invited to screens from them, and it's really cool. I'm just there like, show the James Bond films, please, like, when every other chain is. I won't even get into that because I'll be absolutely raging with them. But yeah, you are right. You want to see this on the biggest screen you can. It was the same with, I say, every dinosaur film, and I've never seen the original Jurassic Park at cinema. I mean, obviously, I wasn't born when it came out, but I think there was a re-release for its 20th anniversary in 2013.
Yeah.
And a lot of people I know went, and it was in 3D, I think, because they had the whole Gates thing. And I just never went to it, and I don't know why. And it's a shame, because I'd love to see that on the big screen. I know they've just announced that Jaws and E.T. are going to get IMAX releases this year, which is really random.
Jaws on IMAX, George.
Yeah, I'll be. There'll be the news of someone's had a heart attack at the cinema and he's died, and it's me. They'll be like, "Why has he gone to the cinema to watch it?" I really don't know. But yeah, let's. I mean, I'd be half tempted to. That'd be like a good day out if I can get enough people there just to watch me die. But that being said, without taking it to too morbid, we're going to talk about people getting eaten by dinosaurs, not sharks, instead. Let's get into some of this film. So, as we do these spoiler discussions, we've kind of laid out the core plot points or characters or whatnot. And we'll sort of kick off with where the last one sort of left us, or where the film begins, where we've got Chris Pratt and it's so hard to call me, but their character name, Owen and Claire. Yeah. But let's be blunt, nobody sees anyone but Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard, do they? Like, they're both. I'm going to ask you this really random. What do you make of them in these films? Like, their relationship. Like, do you? Because it's one of the things.
Relationship?
Well, I guess it is. But like, one thing I see everyone gunning with them is that they've got terrible chemistry, which I think is too unfair. They're not that bad together, but they're certainly not a pairing that I would see. I don't know, it's because I've maybe got stronger opinions on one of their personal lives more than the other, and I won't get into that.
Well, if we take personal lives out of
Yeah,
the equation, because they're actors and they're playing characters in a world
exactly.
full of dinosaurs, so there's no point getting too realistic. I really like both of them. I've always been a fan of Chris Pratt, but Bryce Dallas Howard is probably my favorite actress. Like I've always loved her. I've become more and more obsessed with her as the years have gone on. And when she got cast in the first Jurassic World, I mean, I was so excited about it. I think maybe they did have more chemistry in the first one. Because there was that kind of like hint that they dated in the past and it hadn't worked out, but then they saved each other and whatever happened. But I don't know, maybe it's just because they're both in real life, they're both in very serious relationships. I know they're incredibly good friends, so I wonder if that maybe plays its part a little bit. And also, yet again, a love story is not actually necessary for this kind of a film. Like, okay, it's nice that they obviously love each other, they care about each other, they want to save each other, they want to protect each other, and they obviously want to protect Maisie because she's kind of like their sort of
Daughter.
Child. She's not really, but she plays that role. But I think what's important is that the care that they have for each other rather than the romantic love story. But that the best way to sort of get that across on a film is to just have them in love. That let's just make them live together. They clearly fancy each other or whatever it may be. And let's just keep that as they are a couple, which is fine. It's fine for me. I mean, I don't think it's a big enough part of the film for it to be a problem. Claire is my favorite character. I said that as soon as the film finished. I said to my friends, I was like, she's still my favorite character. I think she's the most interesting. I think she's obviously got huge history for what her job was in the first film. She holds a lot of responsibility for what happened in the first film. I think she's the most interesting, and she's a strong, powerful woman. So I'm kind of like rooting for her all the way through, the same way as Ellie in the original three. Like, I think the writers of these films really know how to write decent female characters, which is really nice to see. But yeah, I have no issue with it, but I'm sure other people do.
Yeah, I mean, I love Bryce Dallas Howard. I think as well with her, what's really exciting is that because we know she's now going behind the camera, that she's moved into directing. Yeah. And it's kind of, I don't mean to sound horrible because this is her franchise still. It's kind of, they're like, no, like, I'd much rather you were directing this film because I think you could do a better job than what happened. But I'll get into that later on. But she's directed more Star Wars than Colin Trevorrow has, which is a really sad irony. That's probably really awkward on set. Actually, now I've just said that aloud. But then maybe they didn't talk about it. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, with these two, we can talk about the fact as well. So the story, obviously, last time we have Maisie. Who was a clone. I know we sort of joked before we went live that I've literally wrote it as they've adopted a clone. Who isn't really a clone anymore.
No, she's not a clone. And I think that's kind of, yes, okay, they're covering their tracks. Maybe they made a bit of a mistake in the second film where it didn't really make sense and nobody really understood who her mother was.
It wasn't that bad in the second film, though. I didn't actually mind it. I'm not going to lie.
Well, there's a confusing scene with her grandfather where she says, "Did my mother ever go to Jurassic Park?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, she did once." And then everyone's like, "Wait, who's her?" Like, we even rewatched it before going to see the new one, and I've seen it a few times, and even I was like, I can't remember who her mum is. Like, I can't remember because we've not met her character. Like, she's a new character who is kind of in the background of the second film and then becomes quite dominant. Third film, and it's a bit like, oh, okay, right, now we're getting a bit of explanation as to where Maisie came from, and she's not a clone, she's like a baby raptor.
Genetic. Yeah, I mean, I was gonna make a wrestling reference to being a genetic freak, but that would sound really bad when talking about a film. It's meant in a good term. No, it's meant in a good term. Like, this is spoilers, right? I mean, she's basically invincible now. Like, they've removed essentially all the bad genes out of her, which is remarkable. Yeah. And I guess later on we'll have a discussion about the whole like sciencey subplots and cloning and locusts and all, and all that, because inherently this is a franchise not just about dinosaurs but about genetics. Whether it should have more genetics than it has dinosaurs is probably the big question we'll get to at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I've read the Michael Crichton books, the Jurassic Park and Jurassic Park Lost World, and they are difficult to read if you don't understand science. which I don't. They're very heavily based on the DNA and the genetics of the creatures. And Henry Wu's character is much more important in the books because he's obviously the scientist that came up with the formula, and they're great. Don't get me wrong, like I'm not dissing them in any way. There was just parts of them where I kind of glossed over because I was like, I just want dinosaurs. I don't care about all the science stuff. So yeah, that's what I guess that's kind of why they had to try and keep the science part of the story in this one, just to kind of pay homage to the original books.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, if I'm going to be honest, because again, it's something they've set up in the last film. They moved into this one, and I think if I sort of get into like my first like big issue, and it's not the relationship or the whole adopted daughter thing. It's quite a common plot in films. I don't mind it. I think when it's executed well, it's always a really interesting thing, especially the whole like it's the whole teenage daughter thing when the whole like slamming the doors and not doing what they want. And you mentioned Blue, and we'll talk about this now. Blue is a velociraptor that's been around for 3 films now, and she has a child.
Yeah.
How? I'm not bothered that it's had a child. I'm just going to say this. So, how do we feel with the whole Blue is everything to Maisie? She's the same thing. Like, I wasn't ever confused, and I think I'm going to say this. I wasn't confused. I was almost perplexed by why so much time been devoted to this when we could just say it go and chill with some dinosaurs for a bit. Like, I know that sounds really ridiculous and childish in my head because I you know me, I don't like doing the whole I want this, I want that type film thing. That's not how I like talking about film. I'm pretty happy with what we get and just looking at it in that way. But there are certain moments, and this is like glossing the film, where it just feels like they've maybe Colin Trevorrow, obviously he's wrote the directing. He's gone so into the DNA stuff, the cloning, the science. He's completely forgot that inherently this is a film about dinosaurs. And the one thing that Spielberg did, to plug the series again in a few weeks when we get to it, is that he essentially dropped all of that stuff out of his film from the book to put his own stamp and said, no, this is going to be about dinosaurs and this is the story. Yes, there'll be some of that in it, but in the most inexplicable terms to sort of say why they are here. Almost nothing more than that was ever needed of that film. And that's where I guess the sort of clashes come from with this being like a 30-year franchise now, tying in with I know I'm jumping ahead, but we get the whole canister from the first, which I actually really liked that. That was a really cool moment.
Well, I found, I don't know, maybe you want to save this for a bit later on, but I found out something pretty cool this morning about that character that I didn't realize at the time whilst I was watching the film.
Is it the fact that he plays Andrew Garfield's dad in Spider-Man?
No, but I also found that out last night. I really didn't recognize the actor at all. But,
he's got grey hair now. Maybe that's why they were trying to kill him in the Amazing Spider-Man. It was all this stuff. He was trying to raise dinosaurs, and that's how they got the lizards.
No, he is Dodson from the first film. He's the guy who takes the shaving cream canister to Nedry in Hawaii or wherever they are. And that's the same guy. And I just think, well, first of all, I hated myself for having not realized. It was Neil that told me this morning, and I was like, damn it, how did I not get that? But also, come on, that's so awesome that they brought him back. Like,
it's a different actor, though. I'll say that.
Same character, though.
Yeah, the character stuff's cool. I didn't know that.
He looks totally different, but same character. I just think that's so cool. And that explains why he had the canister. Because I don't really know how he got it, because it definitely got lost on Jurassic Park. But maybe he had 2. I don't know. I just think it's a really cool nod.
Very similar fate. It's like poetry rhymes, is what George Lucas would say. No, that's quite good, actually. And sort of jumping back to the main, I mean, we'll get to the return ones later, but how do you I mean, we know that the story is going to merge them together. We know the daughter's going to get kidnapped. We can all, I mean, it's in the trailer as well with Blue, isn't it?
Yeah.
But with films like this, I've got no issue with these, like, because it's a summer blockbuster, and I'm far more lean on blockbusters than anything else, because the core of it is to entertain people, and that's what it's been. Obviously, yes, it's to sell money and all the other stuff, but with a film about dinosaurs, it's just like, let it happen, and then the dinosaurs will come. And just jumping, don't jump too ahead, but obviously it's more the final act is where the fun really starts for me. Maybe a little bit of Malta, but again, like setting up their arc, dysfunctional parents, daughter's going to eventually come back to them. That's all good. I'm fine with that. But I guess that's almost the side plot, because the core of what puts everything in motion. I mean, you brought up Dawson. We can really talk about the second thing, which is, I guess we could say, bringing back, reuniting the original trio. I guess we can say each of them have been in a film since with Jurassic Park, but none of them shared the screen together. We have obviously Dr. Ellie Sattler, played by Laura Dern, Ian Malcolm, Jeff Goldblum, and Alan Grant by Sam Neill. Now, if we look at their character, I don't want to just do it as a trio because they all come into different ways, but I guess it's fair to start off with the whole locust thing. And this is going to be really, really interesting few moments, because when we're in that field, I was expecting, when you see the giant, I didn't clock it was a lotus. I thought, what's this like new like dinosaur insect I've never heard of? Because it was big. And there were hundreds and thousands of them. I was like, oh, like, okay, this could potentially work. And then and this is where I think my entire problem lies with the film. When you realize that they're actually locusts, it's all part of the Dodson stuff with the lab about their dodgy goings on, destroying the planet via crops, aka Interstellar.
Yeah.
And I was just, and this is where I feel like, tell me if I'm like, because again, I know you enjoy this film, so I'm not trying to like bash it, but I want you to like jump in. I despise that the finale to Jurassic World, Jurassic Park, all of it was essentially because of some locusts that got loose that have the wrong DNA strands. And that's where it kind of broke me, because there's so much potential with any of that stuff, even using the locusts to bring people in to then get this great dinosaur adventure. I just never feel like we got to it. And then the locusts just wouldn't die, and then they're on fire, and then they're at the. How do you feel with the whole locust things? I know that's been a big talking point online as well, which I think sort of saying like that's been a big thing. I'm curious to know what you think.
I mean, I had no issue with it. I hadn't even really thought about it since you mentioned it before we went live on tonight. But well, I don't think it was like an accident. It was definitely planned by is it Biosyn, the company that because they were trying to kind of monopolize farming to stop, so if people bought their seeds from Biosyn, then the giant swarming locusts aren't going to eat that, and then that farm will survive and all the other farms won't. And I get it. I get the sort of mad scientist logic behind it. I didn't think it was a problem. I mean, if anything, it kind of like made me think, well, so the problem has progressively been that there are dinosaurs now living with normality, with civilization, but now it's actually starting to affect the ecosystem, and that to me just kind of makes sense. That's like the natural progression. This is why it's a problem, why it should never have happened in the first place, because obviously you can't just introduce a whole new species of living creature and not have something to come off the back of it. It's not just going to be easy. So to be honest, that for me they were part of the sort of horror factor of the film, because they were terrifying. They were so gross. And the fact that they were as big as they were as well kind of gave me this sort of like King Kong, Godzilla kind of vibe. I thought it was fine. I thought it just kind of brought a whole other layer to the story.
And I guess with that, what we can say is obviously we get Laura Dern investigating. I mean, again, that opening scene of the kids was, when I forgot, is it Jurassic Park 2, when the little girl was on the beach,
on the beach,
when the little ones are like nibbling her. I thought we were going to get something like that. Obviously, we didn't, which would have been savage. But again, like with Colin Trevorrow, and I know he did. Is it Book of Eli? The one.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Basically got him sacked off Star Wars for that Andy script, but he's he seems like a director where, and I'm not. This isn't about this film. This is about this logic. I think he writes very intelligent, and he with thematics and everything, but I think he struggles to get that across to viewers, and I think that's the main problem I have with not just this film but a few of the others. And again, then you look at the simplicity of Jurassic World. The park is open. You don't need anything else. We didn't get a genetic lab story about the Indominus Rex for half an hour. We just were told, they create a new dinosaur and it's dangerous. That's fine. That's all we need. That's all we want.
Yeah.
And it's kind of that jump that I keep going to. And again, like I know he wrote Fallen Kingdom, he didn't direct it, so I don't really know how much of his stuff was used or what wasn't. But again, like the island's been destroyed, people are selling the things. Oh, they've broken loose. We're going to have the world together again. That's quite simple. And I think with this one, a lot of people compare it to Rise of Skywalker, which I think's quite unfair. Completely different production cycles and everything. It's just that it's ending obviously like a franchise spanning 2 different trilogies. That's really the only comparison. I think Colin Trevorrow being involved is the other sort of slight aspect, but it's a really weird way to bring back Laura Dern. And I kind of want to jump to you as well, like again, like with how you work, because I know you're a fan of the films, the whole sunglasses coming off thing, and I saw a really great, I can't remember which journalist wrote the article about the scene, saying that, the first one, it's the dinosaurs, it's this beautiful reveal, and now it's just like crops that are destroyed from moth. And again, like I don't, because I don't like bashing nostalgia stuff. I don't like bashing because it's an audience pleasing moment. But how do you feel with like that in this as well? Like, did you feel it went too far at times? Like, because to me, the sunglasses off just was on that limit of like it's a cropped field, Laura Dern. Like, and again, that's not on Laura Dern. That's them saying that would have been in the script.
Yeah.
Takes glasses off like Jurassic Park. Like that is the
Yeah.
shot
Oh,
lined up so well.
There was so much fan service in this film, and that happens in every like ending film of a franchise, like any kind of series like this, the big blockbusters with let's bring all the old characters back and let's keep the same theme music, and it's just what they do, and people like to see it. And to be honest, I didn't even really clock the sunglasses thing, but maybe she's seen everything else. Like maybe actually her biggest shock and her fear now is how is civilization going to continue? How is like everyday life going to exist, living how they're all living? And that was kind of the whole point of coming off Fallen Kingdom, was that they now had to learn to live with these creatures. And again, going back to what I said before, this is just another outcome of that new way of life. And she's a professor and she is an expert, and she has taken it upon herself to figure out a way to fix this. And also she already knows about biosyn, so she's not surprised to hear that they had something to do with it. And I think to me that's just a moment where we're just kind of being reintroduced to a character that we haven't seen for 30 years, and it's a good way to kind of just like bring her back into it, but in her kind of normal everyday. That's what she does. That's who she is. That's what she does for a living. So I didn't really have an issue.
And I think as well with those bits, what you said there, the end. I mean, we didn't really speak about the new Jurassic World 2. The concept that the dinosaurs were living amongst humanity. Now, I forgot to ask you this. I know you didn't. I know you don't do IMAX. I know you wouldn't have seen the cinema, but did you get the chance to see the prologue for this film? I should have said that at the beginning. They did like an 8-minute scene. It was the set before the comet hit Earth of the like 2 dinosaurs fighting, and you get the mosquito that then gets Rex.
No.
Oh, you didn't get to see the product. Okay, and this is my other like disappointment with this. Not so horrible. And then there was the scene of you'd have seen that in the trailers. I think it's a news montage at the beginning. The T-Rex at the drive-in cinema.
Yeah.
So that was the prologue. It was like 2 scenes, and it was incredible. And it was again going over that. This is dinosaurs coexisting with humanity. And then I don't know if you saw the short film Colin Trevorrow did. Maybe it was during COVID. They had the T-Rex attacking like a caravan park. And again, like the marketing in that way, I guess it's like the early stage of marketing was really cool. Again, we were seeing all that logic of let's see them coexisting together. But I never, and we get it, I guess, with the opening scenes, right? With Owen as well. I never really felt like we had that explored maybe as well as it could have been, because it's such a fascinating story angle that the one thing that really annoys with Jurassic World is people think it should be called Jurassic World because dinosaurs are all over the world. Like, no, it's called Jurassic World because that's the name of the theme park.
It's called Jurassic World, like Walt Disney World.
Yeah, and it really annoys when people don't grasp that. Like, they didn't call it Jurassic World to say take over the world. They called it that for the theme. In the film, they're literally drinking out of Jurassic World cups.
Yeah.
That just really annoys me, that bit. But not the drinking out of the cups, the people saying that why isn't it about dinosaurs around the world? And this is it. Like, where 2 left it, 3 was like, let's have this incredible adventure. And I never felt like we fully got there. I think it's a very tricky thing to do on film, though. But again, because of how cool those short films were, because of that prologue scene and all the other stuff, when we sort of had it all done on a news montage, which I understand, and then the film beginning, I was just kind of like, oh, like I know we're going to get a character piece, but it just makes me go back to the locusts and get angry again. I'm going to avoid that bit, but let's jump on something nice though. Let's talk about the return of Sam Neill, and I'm going to kind of jump to you again as well.
Yeah.
How do you feel with Sam Neill in this film? Because I love Sam Neill. I'm a big fan of his, and I can't grasp not the fact he's got older. He sounds so much like he does out of Peaky Blinders, and obviously he's got the Irish accent in that.
He's not Irish at all. He's American in it.
I thought he's Irish in Peaky Blinders.
No, he's Irish in Peaky Blinders. He's American in Jurassic World.
Yeah, but I'm saying in this, I literally was like, he just sounded like he had his Irish accent again from Peaky Blinders.
That's because you've only just watched Peaky Blinders.
No, I saw it years ago. I've not even finished the new series. But yeah, maybe it's because I'm near from those ends, nearish. Maybe that might be why I'll blame on that. But it's Sam Neill come out, and this was the big one for me because I think Jeff Goldblum was like a given. Like he's probably the easiest of the three to bring back.
Well, he's in Fallen Kingdom as well, so it was no surprise that he was going to come back for this one.
Yeah, and I think he's done more mainstream films. Not that really matters as much, but
also he still talks about Jurassic Park in literally everything he does. So, like, I think
and he loves it.
I don't think that's a bad thing. I think he's just proud to be a part of this phenomenal series of films, and like, why wouldn't you be? Like, I think, especially the first one, like that film was groundbreaking. So why wouldn't you talk about it all the time? I know I would.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the whole Star Wars stuff. It's like, you know, as some of the cast members got older, you had obviously even Harrison Ford loves it now, and all that stuff. And well, I say loves it. I think he does.
He might be pushing it a bit.
Yeah,
Tolerates.
Yeah, tolerates it's probably the best one. But bringing Sam Neill back, that was the big one for me. And I love the fact we've still got him, you know, still doing his digging, even though dinosaurs exist. But the stuff with Ellie, I don't care about the age gap. I don't know why that's suddenly become a thing on the news. I think it's more of a.
I didn't even know it had.
Well, apparently, because there's a 20 difference, people just discovered it back in the day. I was like, well, she was in her 20s. It's not a problem. And she looks older anyway. But I'm not bothered about stuff like that. And they make a joke about it in this. But seeing them back together, I really enjoyed. Because I think one of my problems with Jurassic Park 3, and I really actually like Jurassic Park 3,
Me too.
they're like separated by the phone in that film. And again, this isn't anyone involved in Jurassic World's fault. I mean, it wasn't even Spielberg that did the third one. It was what was his name? It's Captain America. Joe something. I forgot who did the first Captain America film. I think it was him. But because they never pushed the relationship in that film with them, it meant coming into this one, not that you needed, again, I think a lot of comparisons are going to get made to Star Wars, which is unfair, but the whole layer in hand thing, isn't it? Like having them back together. And how do you feel about the romance subplot in this? Because it feels very...
Oh, well, me and my flatmate literally clapped when they kissed at the end. I was so happy about it because it's been building up since 1993. And the reason it didn't happen in the first film or even until this point is because they both wanted different things. You know, Alan obviously was very committed to his work and ended up back on the island in the third one. Ellie obviously wanted a family and she got that, and she wanted to like live that quiet life, even though she was still having all the nightmares about what happened at Jurassic Park. But there's obvious chemistry between these two characters, and everybody wanted them to, well, maybe not, but I wanted them to get together, and I mean, why shouldn't they now? Alan's not going to be able to continue being an archaeologist or a paleontologist, whatever he is, because obviously they even touch on the fact that his dig has turned into a tourist attraction, and Ellie is still going to continue doing what she's doing. So why can't he? I just think people are choosing to not like it for whatever reason, but really it's the tiniest detail of this film. It doesn't matter. Like, they got together because they still fancy each other 30 years on. I say good for them. Why not?
No, and that's fair to say as well with it, because when they're back together, obviously he's clearly like, I mean, he makes jokes about being, in fact, he's lonely and stuff, doesn't he? And the whole "you've not changed" thing, and that's where it works with them. And again, like, no one's going to say no to Laura Dern having more screen time as well. Exactly. And I think it's more of a problem of Jurassic Park 3 that they were never together than this film. And even this film has to sort of skirt around it with the whole, oh, my kids are at uni now and all that kind of stuff. And I guess when you get them back with Jeff Goldblum too, I mean, to me, he steals the film. I'm not jumping ahead, but
Oh, he
this
has
is
some of the best. In fact, he has all of the best dialogue moments in this film. So many quotable lines. He's so his delivery is always perfect, and he's so funny. And even there was a moment when they were all climbing up to the sort of like treehouse thing that they were in, where they were hiding from the not the T-Rex, the other one. And he gets into the car. Yeah, that one. And then he made the beacon with, and I was like, this is it. They're going to kill off Ian Malcolm. He's going to die a hero's death. He's going to save them all. I mean, I was genuinely worried because we've seen it happen in these other big franchises where they're like, okay, it's time to kill off the original characters. I was so scared. I genuinely thought we were going to lose him. I'm surprised all three of them survived. I'll be perfectly honest.
I'm with you on that. The big three surviving. I thought the same as you. When Jeff stays behind, you think this is it. And what I'll say about the third act jumping ahead, there's tension, and it's the only point in the film I felt we had tension was all the set pieces in that final act.
Yeah.
But the whole Jeff Goldblum, I mean, there's that scene when he's like unbuttoning his shirt for no reason, and it's so funny. Yeah, and the way I kind of approach it, and this isn't to sort of diss Colin Trevorrow, did they just go to Jeff Goldblum and be like, hey, Jeff, just be yourself? Because it feels so funny that no one's writing that like it's Jeff Goldblum being Jeff Goldblum.
But have you seen really any films where he doesn't have that level of charisma? Like that is just who he is, and he plays it so well. So why fix it? Why change it? You know, he's the same in Independence Day. He's this lovable, charming, scientific rogue. Like, why would you not have that? It works. So, and that's what people want to see. So why would you bother trying to change that? And I think giving him free reign, if they let him ad-lib, if they let him improvise, whatever, it was genius. The direction of his character was perfect.
No, I'm with you. And I think the way they use him as well to think he's been a corporate sellout, which is like, surely this isn't right. And what I realized, actually, I need to find the actor's name that played his sort of assistant, who I really actually quite liked in the film. The one person you would think would get killed, it's not Justice Smith. And why isn't it? I'm trying to find it on the wiki. I have to find it on DB in a moment. But the one that plays his assistant, who you think is going to be the corporate sort of sellout, who's going to snake them, who you think would have this insane death, and then he turns really good, and he still doesn't die. That's probably one of my favorite moments. And I know a lot of people. Great character. And this is how I am. Like with the Jurassic Park films, this gets way overspoken. I'm going to jump back to Jurassic World in 2015. Do you remember when Zoe died, the assistant? And like, I'm going to jump to you because I don't want to sound like a typical, like a lot of people were saying it was anti-feminism that she died, and they were really like saying it was sexist from the director. And I kind of get annoyed. And obviously, you know, you're a girl, so you can probably say it more than me, but Jurassic Park has always had innocent people having the worst deaths. I'm talking about the bloke that gets bitten in half by 2 T-Rexes in Jurassic Park 2.
Oh, like, there's always the token bald guy that gets killed.
Yeah. And like this franchise has a history of doing that to the innocent people.
Yeah.
And to have a character actually survive. And I'll even jump far ahead again for BD Wong, who is kind of a villain of the whole series, to the point
the reason this all happened.
Yeah,
and yet he survived.
And he was like the foregone conclusion. If you could pick everyone to die, if you had that entire team saying who is bound to go, it would have been him. But he didn't. He survived, and I think that's what kind of made this interesting. And I don't mind the fact that people don't die. I think it's a really interesting thing with the whole death in cinema conversations that some people are so fixed, and this is more blockbuster cinema. Some people are so fixated upon characters needing to die or shock value, they lose sight of what the film actually is trying to do. I mean, I know you don't watch The Boys, but The Boys is one of my favorite shows. But even now, it's just gone for shock value over story. Yeah. And I feel that so many films do that. Whereas with this one, never at any point, again, I got tension and people didn't die. As long as you can have the tension, it's fine. You don't need to look back and say, oh, that's rubbish because no one died. It's not how it should be.
How sadistic is that? Like, I am only going to enjoy it if the 3 main characters all get killed in a really traumatic death. Like, that's not what you go to the cinema for.
And it's like the whole Endgame thing is like some of the posters behind you. Obviously, Marvel's biggest criticism is that everyone's safe, no one dies. But then the one time you actually have 2 main characters dying, the reason it's got more weight is because it hadn't been done. If
Yeah.
you did it every film, everyone would expect it to happen again. And
Yeah.
then when you're just constantly meeting expectations, not actually doing anything, that's when films deteriorate. So the whole like logic of kill the original trio, and again, I don't want someone to pipe up and cry about the Star Wars sequel trilogy. That each of their deaths worked in the story, which is
Mhm.
another big thing. If someone wants to go for the story, it'd be great. But if Jeff Goldblum had gone in that scene with the fire thing, Dinosaurs would just turn around and grab them all. It would have had to have been
Yeah.
a heroic sacrifice or moment,
Yeah.
and never at any point did it feel like that. And I don't think any of these characters' story arc needed for them to go.
Mm.
And that's kind of, again, like not to the whole Star Wars comparison, but you look at each character in Star Wars, the main trilogy and the sequel trilogy, each one is for character reasonings that then
Yeah.
progress and whatnot. But it's a different conversation, very different conversation. Don't get too many people crying in the comments. Let's bring it back to Jurassic World, though. Let's
Yeah.
talk about Malta.
Okay.
The Malta set pieces, I think a lot of people, myself, and I gave this one a right old grilling. And I don't know, you know me, I don't normally dislike films,
Mm-hmm.
but when we got to Malta, I actually really enjoyed this sequence. And we have like the whole like underground fight club essentially, where we've got like a sort of a dinosaur black market, a
Yeah.
really cool concept, something we've not. I know the last Jurassic World had it, but the whole like crime syndicate and everything, and the trained raptors to kill people with the targets. We got the French bloke back from Jurassic World 1, who
Yeah.
I was
Loved
convinced was going to
him.
die,
I
and
was
he
so
survived.
glad they brought him back.
Yeah, and it would have been too easy to have killed him. Like, oh look, a returning face we like. Let's kill him to the raptors. That would have.
Yeah.
I like the fact he survived. But how did you feel with the whole? Like, I mean, I love the set piece. I think it got overused in the trailer slightly, which
Mm-hmm.
is normally a sign it's one of the stronger pieces from the film. But I just loved the moment those raptors got out for the laser targeting on them. That's when you get tension, you get story, and the directing on the action in those set pieces worked really well. And
Yeah.
I just think Malta's to me, where like the first half of the film I thought was absolute rubbish, but then it really does pick up from that point. It starts to, again, people are having to run from dinosaurs, like and escape dinosaurs, and that's why people
This
like
is what
Jurassic
people
Park.
want. Exactly. And I think this actually does open up the audience to the world trying to live with these creatures in existence, because poaching happens now in our lives, in our world. So I don't really see how this is why people are saying, oh, this is like, we're not getting a taste of what it would be like. This is what it would be like. We live in a society where people are obsessed with money. So, and especially in places where, you know, maybe the laws are a little bit more laxed and, you know, they can try and get away with things like this. I really liked this scene. I think it felt quite realistic. It did have a like kind of Indiana Jones kind of vibe to it, which I really enjoyed. And I was so glad that they gave Owen a motorbike, because obviously he has his motorbike in the first film, where we get that incredible chase sequence through the forest with the raptors. And I kind of felt like this kind of replicated that. But one thing I absolutely have to say, and this goes for the whole film, but really felt highlighted in this scene, was that they brought back so many animatronics. I have such a big thing about physical effects, and I think one of the things that the very first Jurassic Park film, yes, okay, there is obviously a lot of CGI in that film, but one of the things that they were so passionate about all the way through was the use of making these dinosaurs seem as real as possible. And I think when you can almost feel the sort of texture and the weight and the emotional value that the actors have when they're working with animatronics. And there's some really, really lovely moments where they, even if it was just a shot of a baby dinosaur animatronic, they really gave the audience a chance to kind of soak that up and like feel that and watch it and understand that those creatures are really there. You know, they're actually on set and they're being filmed. And I just really needed to sort of point that out, because I just think that worked so well. And also from Malta, we got introduced to Kayla, who is such a brilliant new addition to the cast.
Yeah, just with the animatronic stuff, definitely the baby one, you see it more that it's a full animatronic. And
Yeah.
again, it's the moments like that when you've got the cast with them and the whole Malta stuff. I mean, yeah, we get introduced to Wanda Wise in this, the
Mm-hmm.
actress, sorry, who is playing the role of, let me bring up the character name, Kayla,
Mm-hmm.
who I think, if I'm going to be blunt, aside from Jeff Goldblum being Jeff Goldblum, she's the best character in this film.
She's great.
To come on board in a final entry in a trilogy or a franchise, however they want to play it or say it, and to me be the standout by a country mile.
Mhm.
Is not an easy. I was very surprised to see her age. That sounds really horrible, but I thought she'd be like really young up character. She's been acting for quite a while as well.
Yeah.
And if this is her big break, then fantastic. I think she's been in a few TV shows that have been big as well. But I loved her in this.
Yeah.
And again, we haven't really had a pilot that transports cargo to and from, that sort of gained a conscience of seeing a kid being essentially trafficked, which is
Yeah.
what that is.
Yeah.
That's like not an easy feat to do in film without getting it wrong. You get something like that wrong, and it will look. When I say it looks bad, just for a gazillion different reasons, things like that can look bad if it's done wrong. But I really enjoyed her in this, and again, not say she's a survivor, but she makes it to the end, and she's kind of, when we get the meeting of Goldblood, the trio with Claire and Owen, it's like a trio meeting a trio because we've had her come along.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that we get a character this great in the final film. Not anyone else's fault, but she has such a good impact in such a short amount of time. I just wish we get more time with her, if that sounds right.
Yeah, definitely. But I also think good for them. Good for them for writing a new character to bring in at the last moment, and who brings as much as she does to the story. You know, there's a lot of new characters all the way through the series. Most of them, probably all of them, don't survive. But I really like that she came in. She kind of inputted this whole new sort of gravitas to the story. She's a stand-up. She doesn't have a love story, thank God. Like, she doesn't need a love story. She clearly has a good relationship with her mother, which is nice. But you know, I just think it's nice that they just brought her in. She served her purpose. She's really ballsy. She's really strong. I will keep saying it. They write really good female lead characters in these films. Some of the sideline female characters are idiots, but that's fine. But the three lead females in this film particularly are brilliant characters, and she is just such a great addition. And the scene where it's her and Owen have just the plane has just crashed and they're on the ice. We finally see a feathered raptor. All the dinosaur fans out there are absolutely buzzing for this, because it's the thing they got wrong in the very first film, and we finally got to see a raptor with some feathers, which is good. That scene for me was the first one where I really felt a threat. I really felt they've just introduced her. She just crashed her plane. Claire and Owen are fine. This could be her scene. This could be where we lose her, but they didn't, and I love that. It was a threat, but it didn't have an inevitably bad ending. It was great. I loved that scene. I thought it was brilliant.
It had one of the loudest sort of, not cheers, but the laughter when she says nope and just runs, and everyone. And again, like so many of these films will make something so stoic when they don't need to, when the rest everyone's gonna run. Like, there's nothing wrong with it in a film like this on ice. And again, it's a really good set piece. Like I said, Malta's got an incredible car chase that we haven't had. He's got the bike chase. It's very Indiana Jones. At least, I guess what we can say now compared to 2015 is that because there has now been an Indiana Jones film done since then, we're not going to get Chris Pratt as Indiana Jones rumors anymore, which is fantastic. Not even against Chris Pratt, just, you know, when the internet was, do you remember all the photoshops when they put the Raptors out? And, you know, I guess 2015-14 is obviously like when you had Guardians and this, and Chris Pratt made that jump to the action lead. But again, there's only one Indiana Jones. It's Harrison Ford. That's the conversation for everybody at home.
There was
and young Indiana
Indy where with Alan Grant and his hat. I don't know why they did that. That was and
he doesn't want to leave the hat.
Move. I don't know why it was so important, because he's never really cared about his hat until that scene. But
it's a bit Jack Sparrow-esque as well, like the whole hat thing. And
not without my effect.
It's not a captain; it's a doctor. He didn't correct him for that part. But yeah, let's talk. I mean, we mentioned the playing now. We've got probably, again, I don't want to moan about a trailer. To me, the best scene of the film,
what you're going to say,
is the Bryce Dallas Howard crawling scene. Yeah. And I completely understand why it's in the trailer, because the shot of the dinosaur and her in the water, that is a trailer shot. There's nothing wrong with that being used. But when you watch it and you realize, hold on, this is one long take. That is not easy to do. Let people try and say it's easy to do that. You know, yes, it's effects, but to get it in timing, again, she's acting with nothing. That whole set piece is just so good. And I don't know if it was I don't know what breed what species of dinosaurs it was.
It was the one with all the fingers.
I was calling it it's like a Wolverinosaurus, isn't it? It's
we
got
were calling
the 3
it
claws.
salad fingers last night.
It's so creepy. because it just butchers that deer, and
Yeah.
like it doesn't care about I think it was it blind as well because it's got
Yeah.
the eyes, and I was like, is this one of the genetic dinosaurs? And I was
So
like, because
there's a moment where it kills the deer but doesn't eat it, and then it goes to eat some fruit. So we were saying, well, it definitely implies that it's a herbivore, but it almost kills for fun, for pleasure. Which,
yeah,
I mean, that's even more of a threat. It doesn't even want to eat me; it just wants to kill me. Like that's just murder. Like, but it was I loved that scene, and I think this is what I mean about her being such a phenomenal actress. I mean, it, performing in an action film, performing in a blockbuster like this, you've got so much to rely on around you. You've got your visuals, you've got your music, you've got your camera angles, you've got your costumes, everything. But to be able to control a scene like that completely on your own, to be able to portray that level of threat, that level of fear, like that scene was terrifying. If I hadn't seen the trailer, I honestly,
would have thought
that
she's
would
gone.
have it just crazy. Yeah. But I mean, she just owned it completely. And I'm so, so glad they gave her that moment. I mean, she deserves it more than any of the cast.
Yeah, and this is it with Bryce as well. I think she's always been underrated as an actress. I think so many people think of her in Spider-Man 3, and that's
And
it. And it's like,
Twilight,
yeah, I've not seen. Is it the fourth one she's in? I
I
can't
can't
remember.
remember.
Is she in the Volturi? I've seen
It's
three of
the
them.
replacement Victoria, but I can't remember which film
Uh,
it happens in. I kind of stopped paying attention.
but with Bryce, I'm just so happy she gets to have a directing career. Like she's gonna have an extra. She's gonna do a Star Wars film. I'm telling everyone this now. I keep saying she is going to do a Star Wars film. And it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
And I can't wait. But Star Wars aside from it, yeah, that's the image that's been in my head. It's again, it's the tension involved, and I think, and again, it's like the second one. The second one I think was underrated to a point that was very horror esque. You had
Hmm.
the Velociraptor killing people in the giant house,
Yeah.
and you're getting involved with what this dinosaur was, and obviously it jumps into the ending. But if we cut across, I'm trying to think where we are in the film now. So we've got everyone together. We're on the island, not
Hmm.
island. We're on the
Yeah. I
the
don't
the
even know
like
where is it. It's like in
the
Italy in
lab.
the mountains, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really weird. We've got the lab stuff, and
Hmm. And they've
I
got
guess
so one thing that I found a little bit weird, and I think it was quite clever because it kind of made you hate them even more, even though that's kind of like hard to do because they're obviously the villains. These tracking devices they put in the dinosaurs where they could like
yeah, point them where to go.
bring them back in if they need to. Like it's almost like hold on, but we don't even do that with animals. Like nobody like that's like control to a really evil level. So I think that was quite clever because it was almost so new. Like, oh, this is quite original. This is quite an original idea.
It do you know what it reminds you of the whole Dodds and stuff? And I said this like he was like Mark Zuckerberg if he had
Yeah,
access to dinosaurs. Like it
he
was
was.
a really weird performance because we know what role he's playing. He's playing the scientist with the great PR and the terrible reality.
Mhm.
It'd be a bit of too much of a credit to call him an Elon Musk type, but who
But he
just like
was. He was
yeah,
like an
the
amalgamation of
corporate
Zuckerberg,
all of
Musk,
yeah,
like Steve Jobs. Like that was the
all of
character that
them.
he was like Mark Rylance in Don't Look Up. He was that kind of
Yeah.
like crazy. I've got too much money. I don't know what to do with it kind of person.
And it's with him, his arc is the deterioration. It's like we know he's gonna. You can probably tell from the moment we meet him when he makes them have the photo shoot together. This
Yeah.
guy is going to go out on a pretty safe way. And obviously, the more time we get them in the film, we get the whole he wants to kill the girl, he wants to cover everything up. And this is the beauty of these Jurassic Park films is that when you have characters that do have evil intentions, that we are aware are evil, we know they're going to die. They're
Yeah.
never going to survive these films. And the credit to these films is they don't give them the whole not Marvel thing, but because Jurassic Park's not a would say like a multi it's a franchise, but it's not
It's quite
for how many
self-contained.
films there's been. Yeah, like there's never. I know there's the Netflix series at the moment, and you get like the
Let's not
weird
talk
game
about
of Evolution.
Yeah.
It's like, but it's never been milked to the point where like every character's had their own spin-off film, and it's quite set in its root of being a film franchise. Maybe is that a polite
Yeah.
way of saying it? And we definitely worry about them setting up stuff. Instead, it just becomes this guy's going to get eaten, and
Yeah. It was the most predictable. It wasn't even a twist. It was just like, here's your villain. Like, let's
yeah,
bring it in. And
and I
nobody
think as
was
well
surprised.
when we got the Dilophosaurus come back, who again Bryce Dallas Howard got an acting scene with them, which was pretty intense.
Mhm.
When they're doing the whole screaming thing and they get tasered,
Mhm.
did you know they'd probably end up killing him? Because I think the moment I saw that spray can, I just thought, okay, he's probably going to go out the way. And also, is it Ned from Jurassic Park, the original? I always forget the character's
Nedry,
name.
yeah.
They cast a carbon copy of him to be in the control room. That got it was so weird, and I understand why they did it, but everyone was pissing themselves, and they knew it as well. They knew it.
Yeah.
And I was like, why?
It's Al from Al's Toy Barn. What's he doing here?
And I was just kind of there like, oh, okay. And then he was never seen, and he didn't need to be seen again, but it was such a random reference. Like, all they needed was like Sam Jackson reincarnated sat next to him or something. Like, it was just so on the nose. But just jumping something because I need to bring up. So obviously his death with the Dilophosaurus is one of the most like famous. To me, that scene is more terrifying than actually any other scene in the first Jurassic Park. And that's the one that used to get me a bit weirder when I was younger.
Yeah.
And sorry.
I have always said that that's my favorite death in the first film, which is that's a really awful thing to say. I love that death, but aside from the guy who gets eaten off the toilet, which is a pretty cool scene as well, I really love the sort of mischievousness of those dinosaurs. I love they have such a, in the same way as the raptors, they have such a recognizable call.
Like dialects.
Yeah,
exactly. Like birds cooing with each other.
Right, and exactly as soon as you heard that in Dominion, it was like, oh shit, he's not going to survive this. And also, I love that we had just seen Claire survive it, and it was almost kind of like a battle of strengths, like stronger together, strength in numbers, all of that kind of thing. And I just loved that that's how he died, because it was like, we can't be bothered to come up with something new. We already know that as soon as everybody hears that noise, they know this is the end of that character. And I kind of liked that they kind of rely on the audience's intelligence in that.
And you get the foam can again falling out after he dies, which they went with, which that got a bit of a reaction when that first popped up. Like, I think a lot of people really enjoyed it. And again, it's like, who'd have thought a foam can would have that respect? But everyone's in the original. Everyone loves the original. That's the big thing.
I actually want to see it again for multiple reasons, but one of the reasons I really want to watch it again is because the shelving unit that he picks the foam can up from, there's loads of other artifacts on, but I didn't have a chance to actually like hone in and see what was there. So I really want to see it again just for that.
Because you're focused, I think, the main one naturally, like it's the whole Star Wars thing on the repeat Star Wars viewings. There's that famous saying, it's like, first time or two you watch new Star Wars film is you're watching the film, and then the third time is you're watching all the background characters, all the background stuff.
Oh, and people always say, why do you see things more than once at the cinema? And I'm like, because you see it so differently when you know what's going to happen. You watch so many different elements of it when you're not actually worried about what's going to happen to the main character. And so I will be seeing it again for sure.
No, definitely. And what I kind of want to talk about that, I mean, we've got up to the bit where the trios come together, and I guess it is the final act. This is them needing to escape off the island. We've got the helicopter. We've got them all trapped. I want to say the species right, so I'm going to try and bring up. I believe it's oh my word, a Giganotosaurus,
something like that. This is the new dinosaur for this film. Not even a real dinosaur. This is the one that's been in the same way.
It was a real one though. It was a real one, but it's somehow not been in Jurassic Park yet. But it was the biggest of the T-Rex breed.
Oh yes, that's right. It's the biggest carnivore to have ever lived on planet Earth, right?
Yeah, that's it.
So different to the Indominus and the Indoraptor.
And this is what I wanted to say. The way this film was marketed, they marketed this dinosaur as being another of the created in lab ones. Yeah. So when I was watching it, I was so like, it's just created in lab, and they never did. I was like, hold on. Yeah. And then Sam Neill started talking. I was like, hold on, like this was a real dinosaur. I was like, this is a really dumb thing to commend them for. I was like, it took them 3 films just to use another species. And listen, I love the concept of it in Jurassic World, because the Indominus Rex, just on the side piece, the Indominus Rex is a critique not just on, I guess, audiences or theatre stuff. It's the whole, kids aren't scared, so we built one. It's that whole mortality of you shouldn't create this, blah, blah, blah. And obviously the message of that is that the Mosasaurus kills it, which is also the whole reality thing of a real breed. Yeah. But I forgot where I was going. But because, again, even with the Indominus, it was like, this is going to be sponsored by like Amazon or whatever it was. Yeah. And it's a critique on audiences, on the society we live in. And for them to do it again in the second one, I was like, no, like you've completely missed the point of your own first one, and to
Yeah.
not get in this, I think, was definitely a step in the right direction, because people are going to be wowed by dinosaurs. You don't need to tell them. Like, yes,
Right.
the logic in the first film, don't tell them they're not real, but people at home in real life are excited by dinosaurs, not fake dinosaurs. And even what I found the other one, um,
The long
so
fingers.
oh my god, here we go. Theriznosaurus. It's not a Wolverine. But I thought that would be one cooked up in lab, but it wasn't either.
No. And I actually Googled that one as soon as we came out, because I was like, I'm not a dinosaur expert by any means, but I'm familiar with most of the sort of like famous breeds, and I mean, that looked like something Tim Burton cooked up. Like, that did not look like it could possibly be real. But yeah, terrifying.
It's the way the claws were, and
Yeah.
maybe Wolverine's based off that. Who knows? But yeah, it was just, it's, to me, that was like a really big point, is getting these dinosaurs back. And when we get the cast again in peril with them,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I know we got the whole trailer shot of them all standing there. That's fine. You know, don't move. That's fine. As we spoke about the Jeff Goldblum stuff, the
Yeah.
actual ending, and I guess the concept of like, we need to get out the park, we need to switch the power around. This is the part where I really enjoyed the film. Like, I really, really enjoyed this. Like, the final act to me. And listen, I didn't like this one. I did bash it on Tuesday. I've enjoyed it more after speaking with you about it. I'm going to say that. Because when I texted you yesterday, I was like, please say totally likes it. Otherwise, I'm just going to be like moaning for an hour.
There's
and
some
you do,
people
which
that I've
is
just decided not to talk to about it, because
yeah.
don't need
But
the
this is the whole like film thing. Like, I'm not going to get into the Kenobi stuff because the videos are going really fun. I know you're enjoying it too. But like, some people just despise the fact that people like certain things. And
Yeah.
the way I've always approached things, like, yeah, sometimes I mock you for liking some things like Morbius, even though I've not seen it.
You're not allowed to
But
mock me for that
I
yet. You
know,
need to see
but
it
this is it.
first.
But like, the way I've approached this, it's the same with maybe Rise of Skywalker, which is probably what I guess is an essence of a lot of things. But if I don't like something, I'm very curious to see why others do like it, and
Right,
that's
yeah.
not coming out of, that's not an angle of arrogance saying, "Oh, I'm above you." To me, that's the okay. So how are people reading stuff differently to me, and what is the react? And that's a really big thing for me with these big films. So when we have people with differing opinions, you know, I'm not bashing you for liking this. I didn't like it, but I'm curious about, because your approach is different to mine with it. And yeah, so I'm just gonna pipe off that, because that could be like a video essay saying, right, one day I'm not going to have the time to do it. But the whole, again, it's the whole toxicity in fandom stuff. It just really needs to, listen, everyone's entitled to an opinion, but just don't
Exactly.
attack people. Don't attack people for having opinions, and definitely don't attack actors for disliking their characters when it's nothing to the characters like race. Because yeah, I'm not going to get into that again. But moving aside to more pleasant things, maybe we should have like a Hunger Games Jurassic Park crossover with all the people that have
Ooh,
been doing like death threats to Moses Ingram and all that sort of stuff. That'd be good fun.
brutal.
But yeah, how do you feel with the whole generators? I mean, I'm gonna be, I don't care that it's them escaping a lab. I just want to see dinosaurs, and we got it. We
Yeah.
got to see all the, and this is what I loved, that as you spoke earlier, like the whole logic of the, it tags them all to come back to the park.
Yeah.
It gets a payoff because it's the
The best scene.
mid. Yeah, and I'm gonna be. I don't want to be snidey. I was kind of hoping for more than like 4 dinosaurs in that middle
Yeah.
point, but I'm not gonna complain. It was like Noah's Ark. I was like, where's all the other ones? Like, if you just sent one in per breed, but
2x2.
we got to see just dinosaurs fighting. And I'm gonna tell you, this is the part even I sort of lose my head when the T-Rex goes behind the water fountain.
Oh,
And you have the logo. Now, I didn't
genius.
know this. I spoke to Neil from Gateway Comic Con. We were chatting the other day about the film, and he said apparently it was in all the TV spots. And I was like, oh, no way. Like,
Oh,
that's such a shame for anybody that saw that,
yeah.
because to me, that moment, like, yes, it's fan
It was
service,
the
but that's,
Leo meme.
yeah, it was. And it was so good. And it was natural at that point. It didn't feel hedged in. It just naturally becomes that shot. And again, because it's in a set design and all
Hmm.
that sort of stuff, I absolutely loved it. But again, I just want to see dinosaurs fight each other. And well, then the Wolverine one got involved as well. And it was really like, the death was actually quite horrific. Like,
Oh
stabbed
God,
through
the
the
way,
neck
yeah,
with like, you see them coming through on the other side as well, all
but it was
the
amazing.
fingernails.
You needed some kind of brutality in it, because all the characters are fine. Like, the human characters are all fine. So you needed some kind of like shock moment. Um, I don't really care what because they all split off and went and did their own little tasks. So I don't care about that. I mean, we got a nice, really nice scene between Claire and Ellie, which I love, a girl power moment. I love that. And again, was a bit of a reflection to where Ellie had to go in the first one when she had to go and turn the lights back on or whatever it was. For me, the moment that had me literally like shocked, like I don't think I blinked, was when we thought we were going to lose Rexy, and I was just like, this to me would be worse than if any of the original characters died. I was like, that we have seen that dinosaur in some of the most iconic moments in cinema history. We've, right from when we first see it in the reflection in the car mirror, right through to Jurassic World when it's like owned its island again at the very end, and I just thought they cannot kill Rexy. Like, this can't happen. I would never have forgiven them if they did, but of course they didn't. Of course Rexy was never going to die. Like, it wouldn't be Jurassic World without the T-Rex. So I loved that moment. That to me felt like the biggest threat when that nearly happened. I just thought it was so clever. And the fact that they know that the audience cares. They know the audience cares about this T-Rex because they've been on a journey with it. Same way as if we nearly had lost Blue. Like, we care about these characters. The whole film is about dinosaurs, so we need to have an emotional baggage attached to these dinosaurs. I just thought that was really clever.
Yeah, and what I want to say, I know you've not seen the prologue, so it's a kind of mini spoiler. Obviously, we get the origin of Rex, that you get
amazing.
two dinosaurs fighting, and basically the T-Rex that dies is Rexy, and then the mosquito nabs the blood, and then it's basically it's like an origin.
I need to find that.
I think it might be on YouTube. It might be on YouTube.
I'd imagine. Yeah.
It will be everywhere. And again, it's like a really well shot scene, and it's kind of where I led into the whole. We got before the film, we got this really cool stuff with with dinosaurs in the public, and I just never feel like we got there. And I love the fun act sort of getting into that part, and we've got Alan with Ellie, as we know they would get together, and everyone's story arcs are tied in with each other, which again I'm fine with. My biggest problem of the film maybe is now this is and again maybe I'm reading this is the end of the Jurassic era, they're calling it, and I really hope it is. I don't mean that in a horrible way. I just don't like the whole marketing of things like this is the final thing, and it never is. And I feel like it is. I think getting the original true in, it feels to me like a bookend now on these. And how I am is the ending montage of all the dinosaurs being with the humans coexisting again. My biggest problem was that was literally the ending of Fallen Kingdom, and I really liked Fallen Kingdom. It never felt like I mean, you didn't need to kill every dinosaur, you didn't need to do that, but the ending montage felt so much like the last one. I never felt like it really finished, if that makes sense. Like, it felt like they could do another one, and now it comes down to more a Universal gonna pull a fast one or something. Like, how do you feel with the ending? Am I over reading into it, or did you not even really clock the montage? I'm quite curious.
I thought it was really beautiful imagery. I thought it was kind of like what everybody kind of wanted to see. But also, I just don't feel like that would have worked at the start of the film, because that was the end goal. So how could they have? Yeah, okay, it's what we saw at the end of Fallen Kingdom, and I really like the post-credit scene of Fallen Kingdom where you see the pterodactyls in Vegas. I thought that was a really little clever, artistic, like, let's just do it. Why not? It could look good, so let's do it. So, and they did, and whatever, it did look good, but didn't carry on to anything. But I just don't think it's right to have wanted that right from the start, because then what would the story have been of this film? If they were just living harmoniously in our world, there's no story there. Like, that's the end goal. So I thought it looked really nice. I thought it was really beautifully shot. It looked like a blooming Attenborough documentary. It was so nice. Yeah, I just think it was the ending that we needed. And like, I'm the same as you. I'd like this to be the end. Like, it's okay. Like, all good things have to come to an end, and there's no reason. I'm sure in 30 years' time they'll reboot it. I don't doubt that for a second. But I just think it's nice now to just have this as, we're done. We did it. How much bigger can we get? Like, it started so self-contained on a little tiny island off the coast of Costa Rica. It got bigger and bigger. It went into the States. It went in, and then they had a theme park that worked, and then it took over the world. Like, we literally cannot get any bigger unless they do Jurassic Park in space. I just don't think
crossover.
I just don't. I just think this needs to be the end now. And these films are going to just continue being enjoyed. The first one's 30 years old, and it's probably still one of the most watched films. Like, there's no reason to just keep rebooting things.
Yeah, it's a really good point because that kind of like staggers into our ending of the whole. You know, I personally, I'm the same as you. We're not going to get a sequel to this, but I just have this fleeting doubt that at some point in our lifetime there will be a reboot of Jurassic Park, and maybe if they want to do stuff, explore the gaps. I hate saying the whole explore the gaps between 2
No
and
more
3 thing, but
prequels.
yeah, just you don't. As you said, it's nice to end stuff, and
Mhm.
I think the crowning. Although I'm not the biggest fan of it, and I've spoken up before, it's the whole Back to the Future thing, isn't it? Robert Zemeckis has that written. There
Yeah.
can never ever be a reboot or a sequel,
And there
and
shouldn't be. Why would they? Why would you? It's already perfect. You don't need to change it.
And the problem I have not with that is that I bet since that every studio's made sure that contract was never ever given to somebody else.
Mhm.
And that's the downside. Obviously, it's a bit talk about corporation greed. That's a whole other thing, and everyone does. No matter how great you think a company is, even the companies that do work great, they've still got that in their heads as well.
Yeah.
And it's just do what people like dinosaurs, but it doesn't mean the only dinosaur film that can ever get made is Jurassic Park films. You could try
Exactly.
other things. You have it's not maybe the best example, but you have The Good Dinosaur. That at
Oh, I
least went
love
for the,
that film.
but at least it went for the logic of coexisting to a point,
Yeah.
and there's loads of stuff. So the whole, people like dinosaurs. I know the Apple series out that's documentary, but
Mm.
people will watch it regardless. Just try and make something else that isn't just got Jurassic in the title. Do something, create new characters, have another story. You
And
don't,
we all know how well man versus monster films work. I mean, look at Godzilla, look at King Kong. Like, they're just fun, stupid, big budget blockbusters with CGI giant lizards, but people watch them. So yeah, you're right. Like, do something new, write something original. Find another way to entertain people with dinosaurs without just rehashing the same thing over and over again.
and look at other species of dinosaurs as well. Not sounding rude, but yes, obviously a T-Rex is the most iconic dinosaur ever. But again, like even Jurassic World, the Mosasaurus, but there are species of dinosaurs that 90% of the world don't exist, and
Mm,
it's for them to
true.
explore them and do something. The Mosasaurus was the one I was like, that's sick. I didn't know this
Yeah.
giant thing existed. It's terrifying. I'm afraid of sharks, and that eats
Yeah.
sharks in the film.
Yeah.
So that's how I stand with that. But yeah, and what kind of wrapping up the whole? Okay, we won't get everyone. What are your thoughts just on this trilogy, like the Jurassic World? Because I guess what will happen now is Jurassic era. What do you call it? It's not the Jurassic verse, thankfully. 'Cause
I just
it's not
call them the
universe.
Jurassic films.
Yeah, like we've got. I guess it will get the Star Wars comparisons now as time goes by. It's got two trilogies. Obviously, there's 3 Star Wars trilogies, but 2 trilogies: the originals and the sequels. Very different to Star Wars, just based off that first trilogy and the second. But if the book is going to shut on them, how do you feel? I mean, the way I am, like again, I really like the first Jurassic World. I really, really like the first Jurassic World. I'm saying I don't do a ranking video, but to me, you've got like Jurassic Park 1, head and shoulders above everything else. That's just it as a film,
Yeah.
let alone franchise.
Yeah.
Then to me, there's a big gap. Then Jurassic World, then you've got a big gap, and then you have all the others sort of around each other.
Yeah.
And I really think Jurassic Park 2 is underrated because Pete Postlethwaite is amazing.
That's like my least favorite out of all of them.
Is it?
Well, Jurassic Fallen Kingdom is the bottom of my list, but I think The Lost World is a little bit overrated. I think people seem to just think, oh, because Spielberg did it and because it's the other one that's based on the books, it like has to be better than all the others. For me, there's not enough dinosaurs. There's too much stupidity goes on in that
King Kong
film.
stuff.
I mean, for me, I prefer Jurassic Park 3 purely because I feel like it feels more like a Jurassic Park film. But that's, like you say, that's for another video.
No, that's fine. And this with these Jurassic World films, and this are the comparisons with Star Wars. A lot of people bash them, which is fine. There are going to be kids that have grown. Oh no, as in not people bashing. It's fine, but more like the way I've spoken about the sequel trilogy, because I love 2 out of the 3. There is going to be a generation of children, whether
Yeah.
people like it or not, that have grown up with it, and this is their Star Wars.
Yeah.
This is happening this isn't going to happen with Jurassic World. This has already happened with
Oh,
Jurassic World.
100%.
Like there were a lot of younger people at that screening that I was at last week, and you know, it's not lost on me how big these films are. And again, Jurassic Park was massive for people of all ages
Hmm.
and younger, and then you had people with Jurassic World. Jurassic World is one of the biggest films of all time. I don't know. Obviously, now there's been so many like top 10 films since, but I'm pretty sure when it came out, it was like third or fourth highest grossing ever until Episode 7 came out later that same year.
Yeah.
Star Wars and broke records too. And I just think some people go into extreme. Like, what do they want from a dinosaur film? And this is again where my problem with this film lies. If I'm being polite with the locust stuff, I just want to see dinosaurs roaming the
I
earth,
care
eating
about big
people.
bugs.
Yeah, and like again, this is about why I love the fun, because the fun just drops with that. You know, you
Mm.
lose the whole espionage story angle which people play. It's not an espionage film. People saying it's an espionage film. It's really not an espionage film.
It's a
It's
dinosaur film.
yeah, it's just maybe not enough dinosaurs, which is my main consensus. And again, this is the one I'm more curious about. Of not that I need to know what a kid's opinion is. Will the younger audience gravitate to this one as much as the others? Because even though with Fallen Kingdom, you've got the minute from start through to end, whereas
Hmm.
this one feels more adult story driven. Like I don't think kids are going to understand the concept of cloning. Not that they need to inherently, but you see where I'm trying to come
Yeah,
from. Like
yeah.
with a
Maybe it's
wrap on
too
this,
intelligent.
yeah, I'm going to be curious as to see how this is received. But I mean, we can talk its box office. It's on track to make 140 million this weekend in America, which I think is the third or fourth largest opening weekend post COVID. I think,
I'm not surprised.
yeah, and it's a dance film, and to me, what will be the big intrigue is week two, always week two. Top
Mm.
Gun's still breaking records with this like less, I think minus 44% drop this week for week three, which is incredible.
Mental.
But and next week you've got Buzz Lightyear coming out. And again, like not to study box office too much and get into all the numbers, but to see how this film holds in the next week or two. Again, Elvis is coming the week after Lightyear. Lightyear is going to be the family film, and I think a lot of people are underrating how big that might be.
Oh
I
yeah.
really hope. I really hope I'm not like the only one like mega hyped for it. But
Well,
to see where I'm
it's
coming
getting
from,
good. It's getting good response so far. So
yeah, and it's Buzz Lightyear and it's Toy Story related, so it's an absolute win.
it's Disney. Like no one needs to worry. It's Disney.
And it's it like again, like box office isn't the be all end all for film anyway. That's the big thing. But I'm curious to see this film's numbers. And again,
Mhm.
maybe it's more because for the first time in like 2-3 years, we've actually got a summer blockbuster season
Yeah.
where there are loads of films competing against each other. And you know, as chaotic as it can be, it's quite nice to go back to that sense of things. And as I'll triumphantly say in every video, the cinemas will never die out. They never were going to die out. And I think now we've hit a point past lockdown. I know some places have still obviously got COVID and it's not gone at all. But where we are, I think cinemas are slowly getting to that pre-COVID state where the big films certainly are drawing big audiences. Just sort of one demographic left, which is the older audience. And I
Mhm.
think the Elvis biopic might answer a lot. I'm saying that's for older
Well,
people, but I'm
and we
saying the
also had
demographics for that will be massive.
yeah, and we also had Downton a couple of weeks ago, which that did well with that audience. And I mean I think I'm personally so excited because blockbuster season is like this is where I come into my own. I'm like, I love indie films, I love international films, I'm all about it. I love feature length documentaries, but I am here for blockbuster season and I cannot wait. And I feel like Top Gun kicked us off. Jurassic World is entertaining enough to keep people glued in. Like I think it's going to be a great summer for film.
No, same here, and I think that's the beauty of it. And like you, as you know, yes, I'm not going to diss indie films. I love indie films. I'm always in the mindset of like, once I get past the Oscar season, it's to me blockbusters till like September, October when the festival season starts, and
Exactly.
then I'm in festival mode for those few months, and then I'm back to blockbuster mode, and that's where I sort of am now. Like, I'm excited to be able to go and see loads of films. I mean, we've got Thor coming out in less than a month, which there's a lot of big films coming out.
There is.
And as a way to plug ourselves, we'll be covering a lot of these. And really sad to be said, like we, for the first time, and this is mad. I don't really do behind the scenes. I've had to decline press screenings because of how busy things are.
Who do you
The
think you
saddest.
are?
Well, to be fair, I mean, I texted you the first one was like I can't get into London for 9 a.m. on a Monday morning, let alone the price of a train to get to London
Yeah.
on a morning. So yeah, not plugging too much because we'll do our final thoughts on Jurassic World, but yeah, there's going to be a lot of big films coming out. But final thoughts on this film, still not a fan, but again, being able to talk to you about it has made me like it a bit more.
Good.
And seeing people that have enjoyed it, because there are people that I've seen on Twitter who have been like, it's fucking ridiculous, it's stupid, and that's why it's so fantastic. And I'm like that with a lot of films, to be fair. So, and that's me. It's like, I can't be hypocrite. I'm not going to go out and attack people for enjoying stuff. If people enjoy it, that's on them to enjoy, and that's the way it will always and should always be with that. And yeah. So, Charlie, what are your final thoughts?
I mean, it's a film about dinosaurs killing people. Like, I don't know.
They even speak about the guy on the scooter who got eaten.
Yeah.
Like, I had to laugh at that because I hate e-scooters. Like, and it's not to sound old, but they're very dangerous. A lot of young people going out there up to no good. Thoroughly deserved.
I have a favourite moment, which is obviously Bryce being chased through the forest by the giant evil killer CGI dinosaur and her incredible performance. My least favourite moment was Ellie saying that Ian Malcolm slid into her DMs. I think that should have been cut. Stop trying to appeal to a younger audience. That's not who's in the crowd right now. But yeah, I loved it. I thought it was not perfect, but that's okay, because the first one is perfect and nothing will ever beat that. Not as good as your first Jurassic World, but again, that's okay. I think it wrapped everything up really nicely, and I loved seeing the original trilogy, the original trio back together.
No, definitely. So that's going to do it for our spoiler discussion on Jurassic World Dominion. Please do comment your thoughts on the film if you enjoyed it, if you hated it, your thoughts on big moments, or if you think there could be some more dinosaur films. Do let us know. We will reply to comments as well. And be sure to subscribe if you're a fan of dinosaurs. As we said, Jurassic Park is coming soon, the 5th of July. I'm going to be blunt and I'm going to be really honest. I don't know how that review is going to go, because that is, to put it lightly, the most requested video I think we've ever had people involved with. There's not even a recording date yet. I can't even fathom how I'm going to do it. So that is going to be a big one. That's what I'm looking forward to discussing with everybody who's going to get on and all that sort of stuff. So do subscribe for more Jurassic Park stuff. If you're a fan of Steven Spielberg, it's all part of the Steven Spielberg retrospective. Every Tuesday, we've got an episode going up this Tuesday. That's going to be me joined by Cam from Spy Hards, who has a really interesting backstory. This is the one of two films no one knew anything about.
This is Audrey Hepburn's final film.
Final film, yes, it is. Yeah. on the research, and I've made one colossal mistake, which I'll tell you after I've finished recording. But
just another thing, though, just to cover all bases, if you're a Spielberg fan and a dinosaur fan, go and dig out Land Before Time. It's one of the best animated films of all time. It's beautiful. It's proper 2D sketchbook animation, and it's got some really, really lovely voice acting in it. So go and find that as well.
Is that the one that everyone's scared about, the rabbits that eat people?
No, because that's not.
Oh, that's the farm. That's the farm one. What's the farm?
Down.
That's the one. I've never seen it, but I know they're remaking it. So yes, do check them out if you're into anime stuff, as Charlie said. And if you're a Star Wars fan, Obi-Wan Kenobi Part 5 Wednesday. Don't really need to say any more than that. Go and watch the show. Come and join us for our spoiler discussions, but don't join us if you're one of those that's toxic. We don't want you around. So do join us again. And we might have a really fun guest with this Wednesday, which I'm really excited to get on as well, actually. So please do join us for that. And there's a lot more stuff to plug. There's a lot of things coming up. There's so many things happening. The best way to find us is always getting us on our social media. So Twitter and Instagram at cinema_savvy, Facebook and letterboxd.com/cinemasavvy. With a link to Redbubble, we've moved our store there so we can get a lot more stuff, much better prices for everybody else as well, and postage and packaging quality is much better. So that's a big thing we've done. And yeah, Charlie, I don't know if it's Twitter on the screen, but I know it's at Funny Old World X. So do follow Charlie on there as well. Hopefully we can get some more videos. I know you're very busy with university. And for people at home wondering what is next, film-wise, we've got Lightyear next week. That's going to be mega for me. Any 4-year-old that stands in my way of that screening is 100% not welcome. I've literally got like a giant Buzz Lightyear toy there that I've had for years and open. So that's my background. I'm going to get well emotional. I'm going to watch the 4 Toy Story films in the next 6 days. So
yes, watch Toy Story 4. Everybody, go watch Toy Story 4.
All of them. All of them.
The series.
1, 2, 3, and 4. They're all welcome in this household. So Buzz Lightyear review will be at some point next weekend, I think. I don't know for sure yet. and Elvis will be the following week, as that's one that I think is going to be a mega hit that not enough people are talking about. So yeah, there's a lot of new films coming out. It's summer blockbuster season. It's lovely to do this, and as always, Charlie, thank you for coming on, and to
Pleasure.
everybody at home, thank you for watching, and be sure to join us on the next one. Take care.